we want to factor out the greatest common factor given 3x to the fourth minus 12x cubed. Well, the greatest common factor between these two terms is going to be 3x to the third. That's the greatest integer that divides 3 and 12 is 3. And between x to the fourth and x to the third, we have to take out x to the least exponent. So we're going to have 3x to the third as what we factor out. And now we have to figure out what's left over. Here, I'm going to divide out the 3, so just a 1 is going to be left over. And if I divide out x cubed from x to the fourth, there's 1 copy of x remaining. So I have just an x from the first term. And from the second term, 3 divided into negative 12 is going to be negative 4. And I've divided out all of x to the third. So just x minus 4 is what's left over. So here we have factored out the greatest common factor. We can always check our work by distributing it back in. And we could see that we'd have 3x to the fourth and then minus 12x cubed. Factor out the greatest common factor, including the negative given negative 6x cubed plus 12x squared plus 4x. Well, the greatest common factor between the integers, if I focus on just 6, 12, and 4, is 2. That's the biggest number that will divide all of them. But we're told to include the negative, and that's typical when the leading term is negative. So we're going to take out a negative 2, and then from the variables, the least exponent for x is x to the first. So we're going to factor out a negative 2x. And we're left with, if we divide negative 2 into negative 6, that's a positive 3. And there will be 2 copies of x left. And then from the second term, negative 2 into positive 12 is negative 6. And just 1 copy of x, because we've factored out 1 copy. And from here, negative 2 into 4 is negative 2. And we have the no x's remaining because we factored out the only x. And again, we can always check by thinking about distributing it back in. So we have negative 6x cubed plus 12x squared plus 4x. Factor out the greatest common factor given 8x times the quantity x plus 3 squared minus 4x squared times the quantity x plus 3. Here we want to recognize that we have 2 terms. So we want to identify the GCF between the 2 terms. Between 8 and 4, we would factor out a 4. Between x and x squared, we would take out an x to the first. And then we have the binomial x plus 3 squared in one, and the binomial x plus 3 to the first in the other. So we could factor out an entire binomial x plus 3 to the first. Now, let's find out what would be left over. I'm going to choose to use brackets here instead of parentheses. So I took out a 4. 4 divided into 8 is 2. So I'd have a 2 left over. I factored out the only x. And I factored out 1 copy of x plus 3. There were 2. So I have 1 copy of x plus 3 left over from the first term. From the second term, I'll have minus. I factored out the 4. 4 divided by 4. I factored out 1 copy of x. There were 2, so 1 copy of x is left, and I took out the only copy of x plus 3. So I have factored out the greatest common factor, but the part now that's left over can be simplified further. So I can distribute in the 2. So I have 2x plus 6 minus x. I'll bring down the 4x times x plus 3. And we'll combine the like terms in here, 2x and minus x, as just x. So we'll have 4x times x plus 3 times x plus 6. And I'll go ahead and go back to parentheses.